This video is about the range and the interquartile range, so that's your title. Put your date down as well. Remember, you can pause the videos whenever you want to give yourself more time, or to write things down, to think, whatever it is you need to do. So let's define these two to start with. So the range is the difference between the largest and smallest value in the data set. Okay, so it's a nice easy one to calculate. Write this down. Difference between the largest and smallest value in the data set. You just take the biggest possible value and take away the smallest possible value. And if you've got them arranged in ascending order, it's really easy to see which is the biggest and which is the smallest. That's what the range is. The interquartile range or IQR to abbreviate, interquartile range. This is defined as the upper quartile which is also known as UQ. In fact, we'll give it capitals. Minus the lower quartile, or we'll call it LQ. And the upper quartile and lower quartile. The upper quartile, interquartile range splits the data into quarters. So this is kind of like the median. The median halves the data, it's the halfway point. Interquartile looks at the 3/4 of the way in, or 3/4 n plus 1th term. And it looks at a quarter of the way in, or quarter n plus 1th term. And then it subtracts them. And that's how we find those. And then we'll have a look at some examples of this. And we do need to know how to do interquartile ranges from cumulative frequency as well, but we'll do that in a different video. So we're going to do 2 questions. One is going to have 7 items, one is going to have 11 items, and we're going to find the range for each one and the interquartile range for each one. So number 1, so our numbers, I'll put them into ascending order for you. 1, 4, 7, 8, 8, 10, and 15. So the range, the range is simply the biggest value, which is 15, take away the smallest value, which is 1. So the range here is 14. Probably the simplest thing that you'll calculate. Simple like the mode is simple. Okay, just one little calculation. Okay, the interquartile range is a little bit more complicated. So first of all, we're going to look at the upper quartile, which is 3/4 of the way into the data. Or the 3/4 n plus 1th term. Remember, n is the number of items. So here we've got 7 numbers in the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 things. So n is 7. So we add 1 to that, and divide. Add 1 to that is 8. So we're looking for 3/4 of the 8th term. 3/4 of 8 is 6. You can quarter it as 2 and then times by 3. So we want the 6th term. So the upper quartile is the 6th number into the list. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that 10 there, the 10 is the upper quartile. And similarly, the lower quartile is a quarter of the way in, or the quarter n plus 1th term. So we want a quarter of the 8th term, which actually ends up being the 2nd term in our list, and that'll be 1/4 of the way in. So we just start from the left, 1, 2, so the 4, that is the lower quartile. Okay, notice this is the 6th term, this is the 2nd term. That is a number of terms, not the value 6 or the value 2. It's the 6th number in the list and the 2nd number in the list. And therefore my interquartile range, or IQR, is upper quartile minus lower quartile. So it's the 10 from the upper quartile minus the 4 that is the lower quartile, which gives us 6. So that's how we can calculate interquartile range. So it's a bit like the median. The median is the halfway point, which here would be this one, except this time it's a quarter of the way in and 3/4 of the way in. Remember, we always add 1 to this to make it work. 8. So a quarter of the way in would be 2. 3/4 of the way in would be 6. And it's those terms I'm looking at. This is the 2nd term, and this is the 6th term, and then we subtract their actual values. So let's do number 2. So this time, list of 11 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I put 12 in. Should be 2, 7. Sorry, I put 3 in. So the first thing to do is to put this into ascending order. So we've got no 1s, so the 2s will come first. Then the 3. No 4s. 5, no 6s, 2 7s, 2 8s, and then 12, 14, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers in order. So the range, biggest minus smallest, 14. Nice and easy. Interquartile range, a little bit harder. We'll find the upper quartile first. I notice I'm abbreviating it now just to make it a little bit less writing. But the upper quartile is 3/4 of the nth plus 1 term, and the lower quartile is a quarter of the n plus 1th term. And remember, n here is 11. There are 11 items in the list. So we add 1 on to 11, which is 12. So a quarter of 12 is 3. So we're looking for the 3rd term. That will be our lower quartile. And 3/4 of 12 is 9. Again, divide by 4 is 3 times by 3. Or usually calculate as 3/4 times 12 is the 9th term. So we want to find the 3rd term in. 1, 2, 3. Also happens to be the number 3. So that there is my lower quartile. So that's the 3rd. So then 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. There's my 9th term. That's the upper quartile. And I can sub in the 9th term is the 12. The 3rd term is actually the number 3 as well. So my interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, 12 minus 3, which is 9.